I'm Gene Grant here with Heath Hausman of NMPolitics.net. Heath is working with us this year on our legislative and interim committee coverage. We're also working directly with KUNM. Heath, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Let's talk a little bit about one of your favorite subjects, spaceport. You did a pretty exhaustive series a little bit ago about what's going on down there. For folks up here, we get news sort of in dribs and drabs. What's the latest going on with spaceport?
The latest seems to be that Virgin Galactic is 1 or 2 tests away from moving their vehicle Spaceship Two to southern New Mexico from California and moving 80 to 90 employees who've been working in Mojave, but were hired on the promise, on the understanding that they would move here when their ship was ready, moving them to Las Cruces, which would be significant for our economy, I think, down there. You know, we'll see if those tests go well.
This follows the tragedy they had in California a couple of years ago, and there has been a bit of a wait.
They're right about at the point they were in 2014 when they had that crash, so they've still got to get past that.
You know, the spaceport, of course, was sold to local voters in Doña Ana County as an economic development tool that would eventually, you know, pay off, even if the county residents had to pay in, so to speak, via taxes. What's been the feeling about that? Are folks getting impatient? More patience yet to be had? What do you think?
The reaction to my series was really mixed last year, and I think for some people it was, we didn't know what to think, thanks for digging in depth into it. Some people just think this project is a boondoggle and it's obvious and the state should act accordingly and shut it down or sell it. There are some people who are optimistic, and especially learning that Virgin Galactic seems to be getting close. Maybe moving these, you know, high-paid engineers to Las Cruces and creating some more jobs here, but it's got to happen. They've got to fly, or it's for nothing.
90 people is no small number, though. That could be very impactful.
I will say that in Sierra County, which is the other community that passed a tax increase, I heard repeatedly when I was reporting that story, kind of anger that Las Cruces seems to benefit more than TRC or Sierra County. They both raise their taxes, and the industry is going to gather around Las Cruces.
Interesting.
So, we'll see.
Transparency has been an issue traditionally, and you've been one of those people dealing with transparency issues. There's a bill in the legislature being floated now to even pull back a little bit more transparency. Catch us up on that.
Last year there was a bill that would make pretty much any information about companies doing business at the spaceport, including their identities, a secret. So we just wouldn't know if Lockheed decided to test a spacecraft at the spaceport. It didn't pass. It actually got withdrawn in its first committee. Then in my reporting, I ran into several instances where, as the New Mexico Foundation for Open Government put it, they were essentially acting as if that bill had become law and withholding information they wanted to be able to withhold. So there's a disagreement about whether there were violations of the state's transparency laws. I filed complaints with the Attorney General's office. They're investigating. They tell me hopefully those will be done before the end of the current legislative session. And now Senator Papin from Las Cruces and Senator Burt from Alamogordo are sponsoring a bill that would essentially keep all information about companies at the spaceport secret unless the company says the state can release it, and put it in the hands of the private company to decide.
What's the idea behind that? What's the driving idea behind that? Why would somebody want to have this kind of secrecy?
This is an industry commercial space that in I think 2015 was estimated to be worth $330 billion. It's hyper competitive. You know, some of the biggest minds and billionaires in the world are working in commercial space as side projects to their primary businesses like Amazon.com. And so the argument is trade secrets need to remain secret. On the other hand, people say, okay, well, we don't need Virgin Galactic's flight schedules or the technical specifications of Spaceship Two, but we want to know how much they're paying in rent. And Virgin, to their credit, has been transparent voluntarily with New Mexicans about releasing stuff. But we've had other companies that are not. Virginia gave space companies a law that keeps everything secret. Florida gave them a law that lets the companies decide essentially what New Mexico, what Spaceport America is asking for this year. I did not find a lot of policymakers last year who thought keeping rent payments a secret was either valid as a trade secret or a good idea. So I would be surprised if the bill passes in its current form and isn't amended to make financial information public. We'll see.
As a journalist, transparency has been a big part of your reporting. Why is it important for you to keep on this path?
Yeah. You know, in my earlier years, I covered transparency just for transparency's sake. It's fun to hit them when they're secretive. Over the years, I've had to really think about why should people care? Their government needs to be held accountable. People need to have the ability to decide whether they think their government's doing a good job or not. If they can't know, if they're not allowed to know, how can they decide? How are they going to know how to vote? I think this is one of the reasons people don't vote. And the spaceport's a good example. We invested $225 million or so in that project, and if Spaceport America had their way right now, we would not know what money we're getting as a return on that investment. You've got to be able to know.
Especially in a place like New Mexico where money is a little bit thin, we need to know. Yeah.
We invested a lot in a good oil and gas year or a few years. We could have invested in something else, but this is what we chose to invest it in. We need our investments to pay off in the bad oil and gas years.
That's right.
To stabilize our economy in those years. So we need to be able to evaluate this project or things like it, and that's why transparency matters to me.
We appreciate your efforts on that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Now, Heath Hausman runs nmpolitics.net. I'm Gene Grant, host of New Mexico in Focus. Follow our coverage of the 2018 legislative session with NM Politics and KUNM Online, or call our hotline to share tips for our state government. That's 505-336-0520.